Hi guys, Dr. Rachel Hippolyte here. Okay, so today I want to talk about fear. Now, and how to stop fear really, but the most important thing to realise is that fear is a really important emotion. It's important as part of our survival mechanism because it warns us that maybe we are in danger. It warns us if there's a threat. Okay, so when fear is used efficiently and effectively, it's actually an important part of our survival mechanism. Now, the problem is when we have anxiety or depression, those emotions and those fears become over-exaggerated, an overreaction to something that either isn't real, that's made up in our heads, or something that isn't actually a threat. Okay, and so that's what we're going to talk about today. Recognizing that fear is important when it's used in the right context, but in the majority of us, when we are in anxiety or depression emotions, we tend to have this overwhelming fear that doesn't actually relate to a physical or emotional threat. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about today. So it's the what ifs. The what if I went shopping and I had a car accident or had a panic attack. The what if I make a mistake. What if somebody doesn't like me? What if I fall down those stairs? So they are overreactions to something that probably isn't actually going to happen. So we're foreseeing, okay, we're fortune telling, we're looking in the future. So it's really important because we're in that emotional part of our brain. That emotional part of our brain, our limbic system, our anterior cingulate gyrus, our basal ganglia, those parts of our brain, the emotional automatic parts of our brain are overactive. And the problem is once they're in fear mode, the fear literally keeps them alive and overworking. Okay, so if we scanned a brain that was in fear, we'd see a real highlighted area of activity in that emotional part of the brain. So what we need to do is we need to question the fear with the logical part of our mind, the frontal part of our mind. And by doing that, when we're in frontal part, prefrontal cortex, we can actually calm down the emotional part of the brain. And I like to use the 4 words, the 4 sentences or questions. Okay, is that fear true? Okay, so is it true? Is that fear 100% true? Okay, because sometimes when we're in that fear mode, we'll immediately say, yes, it is true. Okay, but then you want to really feel, is it 100% true? Am I basing this fear on something that is definitely going to happen? Now, we can't fortune tell, okay? So the chances are we cannot say 100% that fear that we've got is going to happen, okay? We then say, well, how does that feeling, that thought, that fear make me feel? Well, it makes me feel anxious. It makes me stops me going out. It stops me socializing. It stops me achieving those goals that I want to achieve because I'm so worried that I'm going to get it wrong. Okay, and then we say, well, what if I didn't have that fear? Okay, we change it. We say, what if I didn't have that fear? If I didn't have that fear, then I'd be able to get on with my life. I'd be able to go to work. I'd be able to go socializing. I'd be able to have friends. I'd be relaxed. I'd be calm. And I wouldn't constantly be looking out for that next threat, which, believe me, is absolutely exhausting. And then what I want you to do is then change that fear to the opposite. So your fear may be, I'm going to make a mistake. Okay, so you change it to, I'm not going to make a mistake. Or that fear may be fear of heights. I'm going to fall. I'm not going to fall. So you change that thought, which wasn't true in the first place. It was your brain overprotecting you, telling a lie to keep you safe. Change it to the opposite. So I am not going to fall. I am not going to make a mistake. I am not going to have a car accident. I am not going to get some deadly disease. and then see how that new thought makes you feel. Now, you will have to practice this, but first it's really important to make friends with fear. Don't fear fear. Fear is just an emotion. It's just a reminder from our brain, because of chemicals, that gives us a feeling and alerts us to something. But once we question that fear with the logical part of our brain, it calms down the emotional part of our brain, so we can be rational about that fear. And once we're rational, that's generally when that fear will go. You will have to keep practicing, guys, but make friends with fear and then question it and see if it really is real. All right, guys, hope that makes sense.